Welcome to Real Table Talk. I'm Tiana Von Johnson.
And I'm Dr. Alicia.
And if it matters in love, life, and relationships,
we are talking about it.
Yes, and on this episode, we are unpacking something very deep, and that is the impact of the mother wound.
Oh boy, what a great topic.
Yeah, we are unpacking mother wounds. The reason why this particular topic was so important to me is because for a very long time, I had a mother wound. I don't want to get too emotional when I talk about it, but my mother and I were estranged for 10 years before she passed away. And in the final months of her life, she reached out. My family reached out, letting me know that she had just a couple of months to live. She was dying of cancer. And in that moment, I'd never forget, I was on a girls trip, impacting women, helping women. And I'm hearing that my own mother, who I'm estranged from, is dying. So even in that moment, I had to still show up for the women. No matter what I was going through in that moment and what I heard, I still had to show up, and I did. But when I actually got to sit down and really process it all, I had a big question, and my big question was, do I show up for my mother? And it was tough because if you know what I'd gone through, like, I didn't just walk away from my mother. My mother walked away from me to the point where if I would show up at my family's house, she wouldn't even speak. Yeah, it was that deep. It took me a long time to even accept that separation because I had tried so hard for so many years to just be a great daughter. And it was like no matter what I did, I was the one person that she really just gave the business to.
What do you mean business?
I almost feel like in a lot of ways she hated me. Yeah. And I never understood why. But then she would show up sometimes as the mother who truly loved me. She would talk about me so positive to everybody else.
Outside to everyone else.
Outside, but me.
But one-on-one, how was she with you?
She just didn't like me for a long time. And it's so weird because there were moments where she was great. Even in my younger years, my mother would cook, my mother would sew, she would knit. I partially lived with her. But I think my mother's issue really started with the relationship that she had with my father. And you have to look at it like this. Here I am, a girl that looks like her dad, loves her dad. Her dad is showing up for her. And I think in a lot of ways, what my father gave me, she wanted from him.
Did she realize this at the time, or was it just so muddled?
I don't think that she realized it. I think that, I see it, but I only see it now years and years later.
Yes.
What that looked like. To look at your daughter who loves the man that you hate. And that's why it's so important that if we don't have the relationship with the father, that we do not bash them, that we do not tarnish that man to the children, because it really does have an impact. It had a huge psychological impact on me, because in a lot of ways, I felt like I couldn't even be myself around my father if she was around, because I knew she hated him.
So you have this whole thing about showing up. You mentioned you needed to show up at this retreat.
Yeah.
When you were going through something devastating. I mean, your mother, that's your mother.
Yeah.
You are half of her.
Yeah.
And you had to show up. And then there's this pressure on you to show up for her.
Yeah.
What did you end up doing?
When I got back home, I looked at my sons who adored her. Oh. And I promise you, I've never said one bad thing to them about her. Their experience of her is amazing. But I never bashed her. And when I looked at them in their pain, I said, even if I do this for them, I have to show up. And I did. I went to the hospital. And interestingly enough, she was kind of quiet and calm. She seemed happy to see me. After some time, she reverted, even on her deathbed, reverted back to being not so nice.
Okay.
And so there was still a part of me that showed up hoping that she would show up with an apology or just something. You know, you kind of yearn for that closure. If this is your final days, just tell me you love me. That a lot of times is a daughter's wish, that you just want to hear your parents say, I love you.
A
and it was
parental
hard.
wound, that's the thing with parental wounds. I mean, a father wound or a mother wound. I think the mother wound just hits us so deeply because that's supposed to be the nurturing person for you. And she should have validated you. Now, what I find in my practice is that 9 times out of 10, your experience is pretty normal. Like sometimes we're never going to get from either one of our parents things that we desired to get. But there is a way to work through that. It's sometimes even better to work through it just by having a conversation, even in your head, to your mom. That's better than having a live conversation to her in real life.
Most people don't know how to work through it.
They don't?
People do not know how to work through it. We're not taught. We're not taught, oh, hey, by the way, you're going to go through this thing called life. You're going to have a mother wound, and this is how you deal with it. I mean, we can talk about that about a lot of things in life that we deal with, but
how did it have an effect on you as a mother? Because you don't want to carry that forward to your children.
You absolutely don't, and it's hard. And I think, like I said, just really keeping a promise to myself that I was not going to bash her, and I was not going to let my kids know the deep pain. They know it now because I did a movie, I did a documentary about it called Motivator, Amazon Prime. And even then, I was really careful in how I discussed it, but I had to discuss it because it was my pain. It was my pain and what I really went through. And even in my documentary, I remember telling God, I'm broken, I'm broken, I'm broken. And then I also remember me just screaming out saying, just give me a hug and tell me you love me. And that was me calling for my mother to just give me a hug and tell me you love me. And that never happened.
Well, I think at one point as an adult, you just have to learn how to do that to yourself.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be able to give it an understanding that you're worthy, whether your mother validates that in you or not.
Yeah.
Be able to understand that you did the right thing. Yeah. You don't have to prove that you are a good person. You don't have to prove that you are a good person. And that's really hard to deal with.
It's really, really hard. And so the story unfolded where she was days were going by. And I decided I was going to make these last few days the best days of her life. I cooked for her. I showed up. I did her hair. I did her nails. I did all the things. And I remember her holding my hand and squeezing it so tight and looking at me saying, I'm scared. And I was scared too, but it wasn't for the reason she was scared. I was scared because I didn't even know how to hold her back. I didn't know how to, her touch it felt so distant to me. I didn't know, it was like, I didn't know who she was. I didn't know who this woman was now 10 years later of being estranged, who was my mother, who raised me, essentially. It was tough. It was tough. And in her final days, let me tell you, if you ever dealt with someone who was dying of cancer, then you know what I'm talking about, especially breast cancer. I remember just watching her breasts rot and ooze. And I remember the doctors the nurses and everybody just saying there is nothing, like, because you want to know, is there anything that could be done? Like anything, you know?
It gets to the point where it can't.
And you know, it was, to see it, it was so bad. And I remember the nurse pulled me to the side. She said, it's going to get worse. I said, well, what do you mean? She said, you're going to start to smell it. I'm like, smell what? Like, what is, it's too much coming at me in one moment. Like, smell what? A couple of days go by and then the smell came. And I'm like, oh, that's what the nurse, you start to smell the rotting of the breasts. And it is so bad. So listen, ladies, definitely make sure that you are doing all the things to check on yourself when it comes to anything related to anything cancerous, because it is so, so deep and so needed.
She never made you feel like you were a good daughter?
I would say spurts here and there.
Okay. What happened that led to the 10-year separation from her?
Yeah. So it got to the point where she had become so evil and mean to me that I had to choose my own peace. And trust me, I kept going back. I was like in a bad relationship where you just keep going back with an abuser. And I kept going back. And it was more verbal and mental.
Were you able to express to her how you felt? Like, this can't happen anymore?
I think I did, but I think it got to the point where I just ignored her. And ignoring it just became the separation and the estrangement. It was like, I can't keep answering the phone to get cursed out. I can't keep hitting play on the message to hear this 5-minute message cursing me out. Like, I can't keep doing that.
Okay.
And so it got to the point where I had to stop taking the calls. I had to stop taking the abuse. Okay. When do we show up for ourselves, to your point earlier, and say enough is enough, even when it's a parent, even when it's your mother? So, but even the decision to go, that's a decision, that's a big move, because I remember sharing this story, and one woman said, who was actually a therapist, she said, "You're better than me." I said, "Well, what do you mean by that?" Almost basically telling me I would have not shown. So would you show up? I mean, how would you, if you're in a situation where you're faced with showing up for someone who had not shown up for you, what would you do? I mean,
your expectations when you showed up, what were you thinking?
It definitely was probably just for some type of peace or closure.
Some type of closure.
Any type of, or even an explanation.
And she couldn't give that to you because she was in a situation.
She was alert. She was alert. She could have.
She was mentally clear.
She was mentally.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to say mentally clear. My mother always dealt with depression. Had a lot of depression, a lot of mental health issues in my family. By that time, she was a little inundated with all the drugs, but she probably could have. But even now, I don't let that sit with me. Like, I don't let that sit with me. I really try to sit with the fact that I showed up, and that's enough. And sometimes that's all you get. Sometimes you don't get closure. Sometimes you don't get the answers you need. And how do you move on with your life when you're faced with stuff like that? Because that's trauma.
Oh my goodness.
That's trauma.
So how did you move on? What did you do?
So, so what I did was, I actually, when she did pass, when I got the phone call, I planned her funeral.
You planned it?
I planned her funeral.
You showed up for her even in the afterlife?
Yeah, I actually, we got matching outfits. And
you and your mother?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
My mother loved leopard and cheetah print and roses, so I did her a leopard and cheetah print and rose themed funeral. She always wanted to go on a cruise, so I did Cookie's cruise, her final cruise vibe. I did her repast.
Wait, you organized a cruise in your mom's honor?
Yeah.
Okay. So to deal with it, you went into producer, fantastic,
but that's my mode.
Superstar mode. That's how you did it.
But you know what? That's what worked for me.
Okay.
Still being true to who I am and still being Tiana. And, sometimes you have to look at your own heart and say, if someone hurts me, how do I respond? How do I still show up?
Okay.
What do you do?
Why do you need to show up for somebody that hurt you? And I think that's probably what that therapist was trying to question. It's like, why do you put the needs of someone else ahead of your own needs to show up for other people?
And let me be very clear. I'm not saying that all instances should be like this.
Okay.
There are some people, trust me, there's some men that I ain't never showing up for.
Okay.
But I gave my mother grace because what her mother did to her and what her family wounds and her history. My mother was diagnosed with HIV at a young age.
Yes.
And gosh, like what is that like to live with that? I don't know. So she had a pain that was so deep that perhaps that was, I don't know, but there is some grace that can be given if it makes sense for you to move forward, and that's
grace
how I'll say it.
I
went above and beyond grace.
You went into wonderful, beautiful, great daughter Tiana mode.
But that's also who I am.
Well, I'm wondering. I know that that's who you are, but I'm wondering if that is your way of saying, this is what I need to be so that I can feel good. Because you could have just had a funeral and just let it go.
All right, Doc.
But you really went over the top. I don't know. I just question that. I think that whatever the response that you have to somebody who is giving you a wound, like your mother wound, and how other people can show up as a proxy to a mother wound, whatever it is, it's fine.
Okay, so imagine this. Imagine if I did not show up. So now I'm dealing with two types of pain. I'm dealing with the pain of what it was in the relationship, and I'm dealing with the pain of she's gone, that's it, no more. So I chose how I was going to accept the situation. And for me in that moment, she's gone.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the decision that you made, because you can't make the wrong decision.
Right.
Even if you hadn't shown up.
Right.
Even if you said, you know what? I don't want anything else to do with this, because she was very painful to me. My memories of my mother is not something that I'm fond of.
Yeah.
She, as an adult, should have fixed her own stuff, and she didn't.
And she didn't,
And she's a reminiscent of something that was a terrible experience for me over and over again. And so I'm going to pass on this.
Yeah.
No matter how you could have, chosen to respond to this, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And I don't want people who are in this situation and decided, you know what, this person did nothing for me.
Right.
I don't feel comfortable showing up in that way, or even going over the top.
Yeah.
I
did.
I think it's okay, but whatever you do with it, it's just trying to understand why you did it. And not judging.
True. And I think with that, let's dig into it a little bit. For those who don't really understand what the mother wounds actually are, emotional injuries formed through the primary caregiver relationship can exist even when a mother did her best, right? So mother wounds can show up in that way, even if a mother did her best. How absence, inconsistency, emotional unavailability, criticism show up later on. The psychology behind mother wounds, the attachment styles. So you have your secure, anxious, avoidant, disorganized attachment styles. How early bonding shapes self-worth, safety, and identity. Nervous system imprinting, hypervigilance, people-pleasing, emotional shutdown. And why the body remembers what the mind minimizes. So, Doc?
Yeah, I think I love the part where you said even when they did their best. Because a lot of moms are juggling multiple roles, and they absolutely love their children, but they have to work 2 jobs because they're the mom and the dad.
Yeah.
They have multiple children.
Yeah.
And maybe you're the middle child and just got lost in the shuffle.
Right.
And there's other kids that needed attention, and maybe you just didn't get the attention you needed.
Right.
Maybe you were sensitive as a child and just required that much. I do on many occasions these healing workshops for people. And one of the challenges that I have people do in there who have multiple layers of trauma in their past, I just say, ask somebody for help. You'd be surprised how much of an effort it takes to ask another person for help. Because what happens when people have trauma, they learn to show up for everybody, and they cannot ask for help so somebody can show up for them.
That is true. And here's some common adult patterns linked to mother wounds. Overachieving to earn love. Fear of abandonment or rejection, difficulty receiving care or rest, struggles with boundaries, seeking validation from, it could be authority figures, partners, or audiences. What do you say to that?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, so many moms are told, or even in households, it gets reinforced that we take on the emotional responsibility of everybody in that household. Not only are we cooking and cleaning and doing some of the necessary things, but it's almost like I'm patting you up if you come home from school and somebody said bullying you, or someone said something to you that you don't like. We're carrying the emotional load of the children. We're carrying the emotional load of our parents and our spouses. And the person that we're dating, we're like, what's going on? And so it's very difficult for us to be able to unload. And that's why those retreats we were talking about, they fill up with women, because they need to carve out time to take care of themselves. It's so essential.
Absolutely. How mother wounds show up in relationships. Romantic relationships mirroring early dynamics. So some of what you've gone through, you're now mirroring that stuff with your partner. Friendships that feel one-sided or draining. Parenting triggers. Doing the opposite or repeating the cycles. We talked about those cycles. And also conflict avoidance versus emotional explosions.
Yeah, and this is where I get into the data. Yeah. Okay? So research shows consistently that the number one factor of whether you are able to have a healthy relationship with anybody, and this is men and women, the one factor of whether you're able to have a healthy relationship when you get older is the type of relationship you had with your mother during teenage years. And if you were fighting with your mother during teenage years, or you felt abandoned by your mother during teenage years, that is going to have an immediate impact, fast forward, to your relationships. And this is for men and women.
Yeah. Well, listen.
Yeah.
I definitely am guilty. I'm guilty of that because it totally showed up.
Yes.
In my dating life. It totally showed up in so many ways. And so it's true. And that's why let's get to healing the mother wound now. What does that look like as we heal? So we've unpacked what it is and how it shows up. How do you heal it?
Well, number one, you pay attention to what's triggering you. What is it that's happening that's making you go from 0 to 100 all of a sudden? Getting into mindfulness, stopping and thinking about, wait a minute, I just went off on this person because they forgot to put the Chinese food in the refrigerator at night. What happened? That really wasn't it. That really didn't cause me to just scream and yell at somebody.
Yeah.
What's happening? And you sit and reflect on that. And then you start to say, you know what? I got yelled at for doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
You start realizing, where did I learn this behavior?
Yeah.
And so it takes an idea, and we were talking about that earlier, it takes you being able to reflect on it. And it's not about, it's about learning yourself.
Yeah.
And it's about seeing how these patterns show up.
Right.
And then making the conscious decision to do something different.
And I also think it's about we have to stop feeling like we have to protect the story. Because a lot of times I feel like we don't speak because we are protecting the story. We can't tell what went on or what really went on. Do you know how difficult it is for me to sit here and talk about my mother who's no longer here? But it's my experience.
Yes.
You know, I have people that love my mother and friends that showed up for her to her funeral, and when they hear this, they're looking at me crazy, but it is my story.
Yes, it is your story.
And I have the right to share that.
You know what? The fact that on many different occasions, you have been able to tell a very clear, succinct story about what happened to you, that's a sign that you've been healed in some way. So you must have done some work. I don't know what kind of work you've done, but you must have done some work, because what happens where you know it's a mother wound, you're like, something happened when I was 14 years old. I just don't remember what it is. And then for many people, you go to therapy, and somebody like me, I'm going to ask you to explain it. I'm going to ask you to think about it, and we're going to sort through it. How did you feel? Critical. What were you thinking? And then pretty soon you're going to keep telling that story over and over again, and then you share it on the podcast, and that's healing. And
you know what? Another thing I did was I reparented myself. I had to really, because of the void that I had with having the real nurturing love the way that I expected it or should have received it, I had to go back in and do that deep work. Like that's intentional. Like healing is intentional, and you have to sit down. When I tell you I had to crack that mother wound, I had to break it, and I had to stop giving it life in a way where it hurt me and it didn't heal me. Does that make sense? And that's what's critical. That's what people have to do. We have to.
Because
we have
you
to
know
be
what
intentional.
people do instead? You know what they do instead? They can go online and they can say, it's these men problems.
Ooh.
It's these women problems.
That's deep.
They point the finger to everyone else, but they don't understand that they have a mother wound. Then we got an entire group of people online, the red pill community, online, who get together and they point the finger that it's modern women. That how can you blame your divorce on feminism? Feminism didn't kill your marriage. You had a mother wound that you weren't dealing with. That killed your marriage. And you have so much shame that you're not able to look at your part about what happened. Yeah. And that is some truth. That's real. Yeah. We're talking about real. That's real. Ladies, we absolutely have to do the work. We have to reclaim our identity. We have to reparent ourselves. We have to not feel like we have to protect the story. We have to share it if we feel led to. We have to do that inner work. I'm developing a psychological framework that talks about the science of inner seeking. And really, I'm exploring that and what that looks like so we can do that work that you're talking about. We can do, but before we even go to traditional therapy,
who are we? Like when you really stop and ask that question, who are you, free from your therapist, free from your church group, free from your friends, who are you? And most
free
people
from
can't.
what your parents told you were.
That too.
Even if your name is Tiana because somebody kept calling you Tiana, and then all of a sudden you be
and
like,
here I am.
Huh? You start responding
so when we
to
separate
it.
ourselves
Yes.
from all of the attachments, who are you? And the reason why that's critical, Doc, is because when you get to the core of who you are, even if you still feel like you're naked out in this world and you're kind of like refining yourself, at least you're leading from more of an aware place, and you're making decisions from more of an aware place as you go through it. Because you still have to think about the discernment. You could choose the wrong therapist. You could choose the wrong church.
Yeah.
You could choose the wrong friendships. Because in your mind, I need a therapist. I need a friend. No, who are you and let's pause for a second. Let's think about you and what's going on with you. And then maybe that's going to help you get the attachments and the relationships that can continue to help you.
Oh, child, this is really good, what you're saying about who and what you are, because that really is the crux of all I do. I don't even explicitly say it when I meet with clients, but I really do.
Yeah.
I really am trying to get to who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Okay, your mother lied to you. Your mother said that you weren't a great daughter.
Right.
She lied to you. And for whatever situation she was going through, let's just let that go. And let's imagine a world where you are a good daughter. And let's imagine a world where you get to create what you want to be. This is where you consciously program yourself.
Yeah.
Because the subconscious mind is really, everyone talks about TV, commercials, and hip hop. But you know who's the biggest powerful person of your subconscious mind? Your mama, your daddy, and your teachers.
That part.
Those are the people who repeated to you every single day what you need to do. So you have to free yourself from the lies that people told you. I could go further because you're getting down to spiritual. Maybe our next topic needs to be spirituality. Because to me, when you're talking about who are you as a core of you outside of Tiana, who are you? That's a spiritual question that all of us need to have with each other.
Right. And so I encourage everybody listening to really do affirmations. When it comes to your wounds and what you're going through, do the work intentionally and really break it. Go into it with the spirit of really breaking it and saying, I'm releasing it, I'm releasing it, I'm releasing it. You know what I mean?
Say it over and over again?
Yeah, I'm releasing it. I'm releasing that mother wound. I'm releasing it. I'm releasing. No, you got to be real about it.
Programming yourself, because repetition programs you. So if you keep telling yourself you're going to release it, you will release it. Yeah, but you have to believe in what you say to yourself.
Absolutely.
Don't say release it shyly.
Right.
You got to be like,
bold.
Release it. It's done.
Bold. Yes. So
done.
I am worthy of love. I choose myself with compassion. Yes. I am safe to be soft. I release the need for approval. I trust my inner care. I give myself what I need. I rest without guilt. I am enough. I am enough. And I release that mother wound. There you have it.
You are healing out loud.
That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing here.
Well, you are for sure, Tiana, today.
And you are too, because we love the therapeutic side of it and that approach, and really just understanding it from both lenses. So we hope we have kept it real with y'all today. Let's take a moment to hear from our co-host, Shar Curry. Let's talk about it, Shar.
You know, when it comes to the mother wound, a lot of children out there, and I don't mean children as adolescents, I mean like us having parents, okay? A lot of times what happens is you don't understand the dynamic or you don't realize what your parents actually went through, okay? So a lot of times the mothers that you are holding grudges against, the mothers that you aren't forgiving, the mothers that actually birthed you, the mothers that you feel that didn't give you the nurturing or the love or what you needed growing up, a lot of times they didn't have a good example of what a mother should be. So therefore, they're following suit with how they were treated or how they felt like the mother showed up for them. But you guys have to understand, like, we are adults now. We are no longer children. We are not victims. So we have to actually do our inner work. We don't get to play victim. We are not children. We are all adults. So it's still up to us to do the work internally. So that way we don't feel that we need to hold a grudge or that we need to hold on to unforgiveness. What happens is we will sit up there and cut off our parents for something that we feel that like there was an injustice. And the next thing you know, the parent gets sick, like Tiana was talking about earlier, and she had to make the decision. She had to decide whether she was going to go or not. You know what I mean? So this is the thing. A lot of you guys are not giving your parents enough space and grace because they weren't dealt a good hand either. So literally a lot of parents who have been blackballed or who their children don't talk to them any longer, they literally did the best that they could with what they were given. I'm not making excuses for them, but I'm saying at some point, when are we as adults going to stop victimizing ourselves and actually do something about the internal work that needs to be done individually? And let me just add to this. A lot of times what happens is when you have that mother wound, you end up staying stuck in that cycle. So and what happens is a lot of times the mother wound will cause you to be a certain way with your own children. You'll resent your own children, or you'll be bitter towards your own children, or you'll see things that you don't like in your own children, and you will actually cut your children off too. So you have to understand that if you don't do the work, then you're not going to be able to stop the cycle. Okay, so it's up to us as adults to do the inner work to get past the mother wound, but also it's our work to forgive. It's our duty to forgive our parents, because 9 times out of 10, the hand that they were dealt wasn't good either. Have a good day.
This portion of our programming is sponsored by therarebag.com. Make sure you check it out. Therarebag.com.
Yes.
And so we're just excited to close out this episode. All right, so my final thoughts. Always remember, the wound was not your fault, but healing is your responsibility.
And it is very important to heal out loud.
Yes.
Once you can tell your story in a succinct way, that's how you know you're headed toward healing.
Thank you guys for joining us on The Real Table Talk. Make sure you guys check out our next episode.